Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Critical Thinkers Podcast. Today, I am here with real estate agent Martino Picariello. I hope I said that right.
Picariello, but it was close.
Picariello. Why did I?
Yep,
Oh,
it's okay.
Picariello. Sorry.
It's a lot of
Also, my
eyes.
former hockey coach. Um, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great, GC. I appreciate you having me on, and to all the viewers, I hope I provide some value to you guys in this next 20 minutes or so. So thank
Yeah,
you, man. Appreciate it.
you're welcome. It's my pleasure.
Yeah.
So let's dive right in. My first question is, like my dad. You grew up in South Philly.
hmm
Um, can you kind of tell us what it was like and what got you inspired in hockey living in South Philly?
Definitely. So my father was a huge hockey fan, and he was part of the Flyers as they kind of became big. I
Yeah.
think when he was around 10 years old is when the Flyers came to town. So that was huge news. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, just played street hockey every day. And then he just kind of passed it on to me. So I started on the ice, but he started in street hockey. And then he was like, he moved to ice and he was like, if my son's going to play, he's going to be on ice. It's so much more fun. And I just jumped right into it because of his
Mm-hmm.
influence. Yeah.
That's awesome. My dad grew up playing street hockey,
Yeah.
and that's the first thing I did. I skated. When I first started, I skated right where he started skating. It
Oh,
was,
which rink was that?
well, he skated at class of 23
Okay.
for ice.
Was it Rizzo rink maybe?
Yes.
Rizzo. Yeah.
Yes, it was
Underneath the
Rizzo
bridge.
rink.
Yeah.
Yes. And I've played there so much now. Awesome
Yeah.
rink.
Yeah, it's a classic.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Um, my next question is, growing up in Philly, what was life like? So kind of like a daily routine for you.
Got you. So something actually, I don't know if I ever explained this to you when I coached you, but when I was 5 years old, GC, my mom was like, "Hey, I love Philadelphia, but the public schools here are not good, and I'd have to pay a lot for a charter school." So what we did was we actually moved to Voorhees, New Jersey, and I actually grew up down the street from. There was a couple NHLers on my block. I was very fortunate. My dad built a house in New Jersey, and we grew
That's
up
so
on a
cool.
block with. We had Shel Samuelson, who was a defenseman for the Flyers, living on our block. We got really close with his kids, who we're still best friends with today. One of them's actually drafted by Buffalo, Matthias Samuelson, who's an awesome player, and I recommend you watch him. And anyone else who's a hockey fan, watch him. But we grew up in a really cool block where there's a lot of Flyers players. LeClaire lived down the street. Lindros had a house in that development too. It was really cool. And I don't know if my dad bought in this development on purpose just to be close to all these Flyers people because he's a huge fan, but it really worked out for me as a kid because we're in the streets every day, growing up in Voorhees, New Jersey, playing street hockey, roller hockey, and it was one of the
Oh
coolest
yeah.
experiences I think you could have as a child growing up who's a fan of hockey, just being in that environment. So that was my
That's
childhood.
that's awesome.
Yep.
I couldn't imagine living there. All those those great NHLers
I
and all
know,
that.
man. I even tell my parents to this day it was one of the best decisions they've ever made. Just not for me, but just for them too. And yeah, we made some awesome connections. It's cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What inspired? Or wait, sorry. What age did you start playing hockey?
Yeah.
And when did you
So
realize you wanted to take it past a hobby?
yeah. So I started playing at 4, but I was on the ice by the time I was already. I think my first birthday I skated at the Rockefeller Center in New York City just to get on the ice. So those were my first steps on ice, and then stick was in my hands at 4, and then I think I was 12 years old. I went to this Pee Wee Quebec tournament, which was once a year. It was an annual tournament, very prestigious tournament where teams from all over the world, from Finland, Canada, I'm sure some people might have heard of it. And I went up there and I lived with the family for a week during the tournament. And I said to myself after that, I said, if this isn't what I do the rest of my life, I don't know what I'm doing.
That's
And that
so
was really
cool.
it. So about 12 years old, I kind of committed to the sport and made it my life.
What year? What year was it?
2011, I believe. 2010. Yeah, something like that.
That's so cool. What inspired? What position do you play, and what inspires you to play
Okay.
it?
Yeah, some few defensemen influenced me, but as I just said, defense. But Bobby Orr was probably the biggest influence. My dad would show me all the movies and the highlight reels of his legendary goal, and I wore number 4 for a while. So Bobby Orr is probably the biggest influence I had in my career.
Really? I did not
Yeah,
know you wore number 4.
I wore number 4, number 94, because I ended up being a huge fan of Maurice Richard, or AKA
Yeah.
the Rocket Richard. I saw a movie about him when I was 12 years old, going up to Pee Wee Quebec, and I made my number 94 for the Quebec tournament the year after. So
That's
Maurice
awesome.
Richard, Bobby Orr.
See, I always played defense my whole life too. Other than 1 year, I played center, and that 1 year I think was when Austin Matthews came in the league, and that's where I got 34 from.
What a player.
And then, yeah, what a player.
Yeah.
And then I stuck with that all the way to this year when I changed to 21, which was the number my dad used to wear. So I kind of wore that to honor him.
I love that, man. You got to have a little bit of pride on your sweater. So anything that you can do to make you play with a little bit more heart, a little bit more emotion, I think having your dad's number is always really special.
Well, I always play for the name on the front before the name on the back. But
that's why we love you, GC. Coaching you was a pleasure just because of that. You always knew it was about the collective group, not just about individual, success.
Thank you. Yeah. What's your favorite hockey memory? I know you probably are going to say Quebec.
The Pee Wee Quebec tournament. No, not everything was the Pee Wee Quebec tournament. My freshman year in college, I went there. I was fortunate enough to start and be on the power play, be on the PK my freshman year, and we won a MAC championship. And just to be a part of that with my college friends and roommates and teammates, it was so special, and we celebrated, which was a lot of fun. It was a good memory.
That's awesome.
Yeah, man.
What programs did you play for growing up?
For the team I coached I grew up playing for Flyers Youth. And then I switched over to AAA, which was Team Comcast in Pennsauken. So not too far of a trip. And from there, if you're familiar with Little Flyers, I played in Aston for a little bit.
Yeah.
And then when I was 16 years old, I actually decided to move away from home, and I lived with a family up in Connecticut, which is what I wanted to do when I was 12 after the Quebec tournament. And so when I was 16, I lived in Greenwich, Connecticut, lived up there for a year. And I billeted again up there for another year, and then I came home and finished my high school career in Philadelphia, actually, in Philadelphia. And then from there,
awesome.
Played junior hockey, went to college, and yeah, that was my career. Bounced around a little bit.
Zach's at the Little Flyers.
That's right. Zach's been playing well. He's another hard worker.
He's a stud. He's tall. He got tall, man.
I know. I could see just because his dad is huge, and I was like, "There's no way he doesn't."
He's
follow
awesome.
His dad's footsteps.
He's so good.
Yeah, and it's a good program. I'm fortunate to know some of the people over there that still coach. And when they called me about him and were like, "Hey, this kid Zach, he's a hell of a goalie, but we have two other guys who are really good too." And I was like, "Look, this kid is just going to work harder than anyone else you've ever met. And if he's on the bubble, I would suggest you give him a shot." And I'm happy that they did, because I think he's one of their best goalies now, if not their best.
Shout out to Zach, by the way.
Shout out to Zach, wherever you are in the crowd.
Stud guy.
Yep.
Now, you had a good college career. Did you know you wanted to coach before college, or did that come after?
No, so when I was in juniors, I played in the North American Hockey League, which is a Tier 2 league. So it's free hockey. You have fans come to the game. If anyone knows the North American Hockey League, or the NAL, people call it.
Yeah.
It's a very prestigious junior program. And what we did was we actually had coaching sessions for kids who wanted to come out. And we'd also go out to their practices. So if Little Flyers were in the same rink as us, if they wanted us to come out, we'd have 3 or 4 guys, and I'd volunteer always to go help coach, because as soon as I did it once, I was hooked. And then in college, it was the same thing for our team up there. We had other teams that could use our help. So what we did was we'd volunteer. 2 or 3 guys from our Stevenson program would go to their practices and show them some new drills, or maybe just help them with the drills that their coach is currently working on. And from there, I just knew it. I was like, this is too much fun, and I love being a part of seeing when a player gets it, and he can change his game and get better.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now, Did you play juniors before you went to college? So did you play 18, 19, and then 20, and then went to college?
Yeah, exactly. I did. So the way it kind of laid out was I actually did juniors when I was 17, and then I went back to AAA for 18U. So I played 20-year-olds when I was 17 in juniors, which gave me great experience. So when I went to 18U and I was trying to go D1 that year, just rack my stats up, it was a really good way for me to kind of test myself when I was 17. And then when I took a step back to a lower kind of division, I felt so much stronger with that kind of competition. You know what I mean? It's kind of like playing with kids that are 2 years older than you, and then going back to your age level, you're like, okay, this is easy. So then I switched back to Comcast, which is where, as you know, I jumped from originally. And I ended up, had a lot of college recruiters kind of come and introduce themselves to me at that team. And then I kind of put it off for a year to go to college, and I went to the North American Hockey League. And the colleges that I kind of felt a strong connection with throughout those 2 years that stuck around, that kept coming to my games and reaching out to me, I was like, okay, these people, they're going to prioritize me, and that's where I went. I didn't want to go to another school where there was 100 recruits coming in. I wanted to be a part of a
Yeah.
special program, and Stevenson was that.
That's awesome. Where is Stevenson? Is that in Maryland or
Yep.
Maryland?
Yep, it's down in Maryland, right outside of Baltimore, and we were a first-year program the year before I went there. So when I went, it was only 2 years in the making, and for like I said, for us to win the MAC championship was really special, and
That's
win something
awesome.
in our first year or 2 years. Yeah, it's cool.
That's my overall goal to take with hockey is just make it to college and just live it up and enjoy the experiences that I can take now.
Absolutely.
Just better myself too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like you said, not just grow as a hockey player, but grow as a human being and a man as well. So
It's so important, and I don't think that you can grow as a hockey player fully without growing as a person. You know, your mindset when you're on the ice, if it's not at a high level and you're not thinking every single rep how you can get better, and you're not thinking about how you can push your teammates, then I don't think you're going to be getting the most out of yourself. So improve on yourself as a person, and the hockey player will come.